morning and welcome back to my channel. Today, as you can tell from the title of this video, we are here for the beginning of a new reading vlog and very special TBR video because I'm about to do something I've never done in my entire life and I am so excited to try for the first time, which is hire a professional bibliologist to create a tailored book recommendations selection for me, aka a TBR. And not only am I going to be trying out this service today, but I'm also going to pick up some of the books that they recommend and give them a read for the video to really, you know, test how well they got me, how well they figured me out. And hopefully I'm going to discover some books I've never heard of before, that I maybe would never have thought to pick up before, and that could potentially become new favourites. It's a really fun way to have books recommended to you because it's so different from how I usually get books recommended, and because of that I have high hopes. But the service I am going to be using is TBR, which is Tailored Book Recommendations, and they are also the sponsor of today's video, so they very kindly reached out and asked if I would give their service a try for a video and share with you my honest thoughts and reviews. So I will of course be completely open and honest about my reactions to the book recommendations I get, and I'm super grateful that Tailored Book Recommendations sort of gave me the opportunity to try this out because it was not a service I realised existed before this, and now I'm just so incredibly eager to see how it works. So first things first, we need the recommendations before we can read any of them, and in order to do that we need to use the service that they've provided to me to share the kind of books and genres that I like and provide the information that the specialist bibliologist needs to recommend to me books based on my tastes. And it is an individual that looks at your answers and the forms that you submit and picks the books for you, so it's very like specific to you and it's very individualized from one bibliologist to a book reader, which I love. So yeah, let's quit rambling and see how the recommendation system actually works. I have been gifted by TBR their digital subscription, which is where you pay for the recommendations. So they do have a higher tiered subscription that you can pay for if you're based in the US, where they will also send you those books. If you're anywhere else in the world like me in the UK, you can still have their digital subscription, which I really like. So first things first, I followed the link in my email inbox to the specialist webpage to begin my recommendation process. So here we have our lovely little pigeon with his monocle, which I love, ready to tailor some book recommendations to me. So before we can tailor recommendations just for you, we need to know about your reading preferences and what you're looking for. Complete your profile, then sit back and let your bibliologist work their magic. Okay, dokey, so let's get started. My name is Jean. I know the answers to these ones. Yes. What are your favourite genres? Okay, so if you watch my channel regularly and have watched it for a few years, you'll know I'm quite a wide reader when it comes to genres. I like a lot of genres, but I just like specific things within those genres. So I love fantasy, absolutely, all the time. I do like sci-fi. I'm trying to decide whether it's like a favourite genre though, because it's something that I'm still exploring, but then maybe it would be nice to get a recommendation in. I would put speculative fiction because I think that sort of encompasses the kind of sci-fi and like surrealist stuff that I like. I also love horror. I love anything LGBTQ+, especially sapphic. I love romance, including the spicier variety. I'm always here for some spicy romance. I enjoy non-fiction, usually sort of like the political and like social non-fiction. Oh, I do love a thriller. Oh, mythology and fairy tale retellings. Maybe I should end it there. I'll call it there. I do like other genres, but those are my favourites. Those are the ones I probably pick up in the bookshops and go, oh, I want this. So yeah, I think that covers my favourite genres with like a little bit of specificity in terms of what I like in those genres. So hopefully that's what they're looking for. Is there anything you want to explore more of in your reading life? Oh, okay. Okay, right. In fact, so let's think of some stuff I have been wanting to read. I'd love to read more non-fiction that takes the form of literary and film, TV boutique. I've been getting more into contemporary romances, because in the past I really wasn't much of a contemporary romance reader, but like I've really gotten into that recently. Oh, actually, I would also love more fantastical horror like Kingfisher. What are the last few books you really loved? So in fact, the book I'm reading just now I'm absolutely in love with, and it's called Love That Journey for Me by Emily Garside. So that was a non-fiction book about Schitt's Creek, which is one of my favourite TV shows of all time, and I'm almost finished that. I also just finished The Master of Gin by P. Jelly Clark, which I adored. I think one of the other books I gave 5 stars this year was Flame of Seven Waters by Juliet Marillier, which is the last in the Seven Waters series. What else have I enjoyed this year so far? Oh, I reread The Tea Dragon Society by Kay O'Neill. I couldn't remember their surname there, which I adored. I loved it the first time, but I did a wee reread, which was really fun. I also really enjoyed recently. What did I most recently enjoy in the romance genre? Oh, there's a self-published series I really like by L.M. Drew, and the one I most recently read was Needed in Garu Reeve by L.M. Drew. I do have the third one ready to read on my Kindle as well, which I'm super excited about, but the last one I read was the second one, which is like a paranormal shifter romance. Oh, in terms of historical romance, I also read My Dangerous Duke and really enjoyed that. That was by Galen Foley. Oh, and I really enjoyed Black Magic, the graphic novel series or comic book series. I just started that and I've really gotten into comic book series, I'll put in bracket. I think that covers like some of my top books of the year so far. That's you seeing what are my favourite books of the year so far. Then how should your bibliologist balance books that fit your current style with books that branch out? I'm going to be boring potentially and just stick in the middle there, because we have keep it familiar, mostly familiar but occasional stretch is okay, mix of familiar and stretch reads, expand my literary horizons and spice it up. I think I want a mix of familiar and stretch reads. I want to see what they give me in terms of stuff that suits my current style and maybe branches me out a little bit. So that way I'm getting the best balance, I guess, hopefully. Let's try that. Are you looking for recommendations on a certain theme? Okay, so I've had a wee stare at the computer screen and I filled in are you looking for recommendations on a certain theme with fantastical horror, spicy romance, particularly fantasy or contemporary, sapphic retellings of myth and fairy tale, film and literary non-fiction, cute graphic novels / comics with bonus points if they're LGBTQ+, books by women, trans authors and non-binary authors, and I wonder if I should add anything else. Those feel like enough to be getting on with probably, because I don't like want it just to be an endless list and I've probably already put quite a lot. Anything else you want your bibliologist to know before they pick your books? As much as I read widely, I don't generally love straight up contemporary about the woes of millennial life, etc. I don't love teen romances. YA thrillers are fine, but not just high school drama. So they also ask at the end if you would like to supply a Goodreads link, just so that they can see obviously what you've already read. So I'm doing that. I'll add that there, which is good because obviously I've read quite a lot of books and I don't want to be recommended something I've already read, but everything I've read is on there, so great. There is also then just like a section on their website that you can add more details to, so it's got a lot of the information that I've already put in from before, but there are more questions, so you can see these are the ones I answered before. And then there are these additional ones, so like what are your all-time favourite books? Cool. Eragon by Christopher Paolini. Everything Ever written by Tessa Dare. and then I guess a bunch of other things, but that kind of covers some of my main genres. Any books I absolutely hated. Okay, wow. Let's think. I don't like Rivers of London by... I don't like Rivers of London. There's even a section for your favourite TV shows and or movies. So I'll add in some of those. Pride, the film Monty, Pan's Labyrinth, TV, Charmed, Schitt's Creek, Brooklyn Nine-Nine. And this is really awesome. There's also a section about like trigger warnings that you'd like a heads up in. I would prefer books that don't deal heavily with sexual violence, alcoholism, and terminally ill parents slash family members. And if you really, really don't want something in a book, you can even mention that. So like any types of content that are deal breakers for you. So your bibliologist will exclude any books that contain those requests. However, if you request to exclude any marginalised community, like you don't want to read a book by someone of the LGBTQ+ community, they will not be honoured. And I really appreciate that. As somebody who's a member of the LGBTQ+ community, thank you so much, my TBR, for refusing to honour requests that are in essence homophobic. That means a lot to me, so thank you. I don't really have anything. I've mentioned the things I would rather that aren't dealt with in detail in the other section, but I don't think I have anything that I absolutely do not want in a book. This is exciting! Oh my god, okay, so I now just need to wait for an email in my inbox letting me know that my recommendations are ready, and I will check back with you when that happens so we can read them together. I wonder what they're going to be. Okay. I'm gonna go and do something else and try and forget about this for a little while now until they appear. So yeah, I will check back in with you and let you know how they go. Guys, they're here. My recommendations. I just got my email in my inbox from my TBR with my personalised book recommendations. I haven't linked to them yet and I'm so excited to. I actually just finished a book last night, so I am ready to start something new, and I'm gonna start one of these. So let's have a look. Dun, 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 dun. Your TBR is here. Your bibliologist has searched the shelves and selected 3 awesome new additions to your TBR. Open your letter and get ready to get reading. Oh. Okay, so here they are. Hi Jean, welcome to TBR. I'm Emily, your bibliologist. Hi Emily, thanks so much. And I'm excited to share these books with you. I think they're exactly the kind of thing you're looking for, but of course I welcome your thoughts and feedback when you get a chance to read. That's lovely. So we then have 3 books here. I can already read the titles. We have Plain Bad Heroines by Emily M. Danforth, Girls Can Kiss Now by Jill Gutowitz, and Dating Dr. Dill by Nisha Sharma. Just from reading those titles and looking at the covers down here at the bottom of the page, I recognise one of those but have never heard of the other 2, which is so much fun. I'm really glad there's stuff on there that I don't know, but I will say the one that I have heard of, Plain Bad Heroines, I do have an interest already in reading. It's not something I've read much about, but in the back of my mind I think it's a sort of dark academia book that I certainly would have read more about in the future. So let's start there. So Emily says that this is one of my favourite recent horror novels. Okay, so it is full-blown horror, which is exactly what I was looking for. I think I mentioned horror quite a few times in my answers, and I thought you would like it because of its feminist themes and sapphic storylines. Okay, I had no idea that Plain Bad Heroines had a sapphic plot or sapphic subplot, which is super exciting. Brooke Hunt's School for Girls is an old boarding school with a troubled and mysterious past, including many mysterious deaths. 100 years have passed since the horrors that befell the school, and writer Merritt Emmons has written a book celebrating the queer feminist history of the school that was so cursed. Her books inspired a horror film adaptation of the story. This sounds so cool. Okay, what is really interesting to me already is that, yes, I've seen Plain Bad Heroines around, mainly because of the UK cover, which is bright yellow and has like been kind of iconic. I didn't know much else about it, but this is exactly the kind of book I want to read. Like, the way that Emily has described this book by Emily Danforth sounds like something I would love. It does feel very personalised, which is awesome. Now let's have a look at the books that I've never heard of. We have Girls Can Kiss Now by Jill Gutowitz. Because you're interested in feminist critiques of film and pop culture, I'm already excited. I thought Girls Can Kiss Now would be great for you. Girls Can Kiss Now is a debut collection of personal essays from Jill Gutowitz, using her own personal stories and combining them with reflections on pop music, film, television and more. Gutowitz explores the intersection of queerness, relationships, pop culture, the internet and identity. I have never heard of this, but it sounds like exactly the kind of thing I'm looking for. I wanted more books that were sort of film, television, literature critiques, looking at queer feminist themes and social commentary, so this just sounds exactly like what I wanted. And never heard of the author, although it does say it's a debut collection, so that's not surprising. And never heard of the book, so this is super duper cool. Oh my goodness, I'm definitely checking that out ASAP. And then lastly we have Dating Dr. Dill by Nisha Sharma. Gonna guess already it's a romance novel. I mean, I've looked at the cover, so it does look pretty romantic. This final book is a spicy contemporary romance that's just delightful. Okay, good. I love adult and spicy, and I hope you'll love it. Dating Dr. Dill is the story of Karina Mann, who dreams of having a love story like her parents. When her father announces he's selling her mother's home, he and Karina strike a deal. He'll give her the house if she gets engaged in 4 months. Enter Dr. Prem Varma, host of the Dr. Dill show, who has completely opposite views on dating and relationships. After her argument with Dr. Dill goes viral, he's the last person she's interested in a relationship with. But here's where things get complicated. Dr. Dill is looking to fund his clinic, and if he can convince Karina that he's her soulmate, Karina's meddling aunties have agreed to fund his clinic. Okay, so this sounds like a bit of an enemies to lover romance with some fun tension, and like Emily's mentioned, it is steamy, which I am so here for. And again, had never heard of it, had never heard of the author. And I think I mentioned that I'd been getting into more contemporary romances. It's not a subgenre of romance I've read as much of, but I've been looking to explore more of, so that's really cool. In fact, I cannot tell a lie, I'm super pleased with all these recommendations. I love that there's a selection of stuff that I maybe have heard of and things that I've literally never heard of, but also that they're all very, very different. It doesn't feel like I've just been given 3 recommendations that are all the same. Like, I could have ended up receiving like 3 strong female character fantasy novels, which I would have loved. Like, I love that. But given that I do like lots of different types of literature, and I talked about lots of different types of literature in my survey, I'm really glad that I got 3 very different books recommended to me, because that's kind of the dream scenario. It means I've got 3 very different books to choose from that cater to 3 very different aspects of my taste and for very different moods. I mean, I have horror, romance and non-fiction. Okay, so I guess it's time to decide what to read first and to review for you in this video. Okay, so I've checked Scribd, which like I mentioned is the audiobook platform that I'm already subscribed to, and they have 2 of the books. So we have Dating Dr. Dill on there, and we also have Girls Can Kiss Now, which is particularly exciting because I love non-fiction on audiobook. Although I do generally prefer reading my romance physically than listening to an audiobook, so I may download that one on Kindle. So the only thing left to do now, I guess, is to start reading / listening and update you on my thoughts. I'm super excited for all of these books. Myself some gnocchi in my kitchen for my dinner, and was listening to my audiobook, so thought I would update you. I have literally only listened to the introduction and the first essay from Girls Can Kiss Now, and I'm in love. It's so good, guys. It's so good. And I have to say, I'm sure a lot of my love of this comes from like similarities between myself and the author generationally, in terms of the fact that she was born in 1991, I was born in 1992, and she talks a lot about, especially in the beginning, just sort of the tropes and messages in queer media, or like the absence of queer media when we were growing up, and like how that developed to what we have now, for good and for bad. And like, it's the exact same experience, you know what I mean? Like, we are a year apart, if that, and our experiences of queer media, and particularly queer women in media, is exactly the same. Like, we had the same cartoons and the same TV shows and the same children's books and young adult books, and the sort of development of the internet. Like, the first essay is about her early years on the internet, you know, when we were all on MSN and chat rooms and whatever else you were on, like MySpace, I couldn't remember the names of them there, like, and we were all using those platforms, and it was the very new days of the internet and access to information, and also the kind of shame around talking about sex and sexuality. And she eventually comes out as a lesbian, and I myself am bisexual, so there's just like a lot there where I'm like, I get you. You may have grown up in the US and I may have grown up in the UK, but we have a lot of overlap, and I relate, and I love it. Like, it's so nice. And I guess that's why it's nice to get very specific book recommendations, because I very specifically relate to this book. And I'm looking forward to seeing or reading or listening to her discussions of more queer media as it goes on. But so far I'm just very enjoying her like narrative voice, her style as an essayist, and I like that I have stuff in common with her. So that's my update. I'm now gonna go and eat my gnocchi because it's looking ready. Reading update. I'm just having a lunch break at work and thought I'd fill you in on what I'm reading, because on my, outing to Aldi, I was listening to said audiobook and have gotten a little bit further in. I don't think I'm quite 50% of the way through yet. Maybe like 35-40% of the way through. But it's not like a super long book, and I find that essay collections in general are some of the quicker, more digestible book formats to read. I haven't read a lot of essay collections, but that's generally what I found. I'm just looking at my plant and it doesn't look happy, guys. It doesn't look happy. Sorry, sidetrack. But I'm still really very much enjoying it. This has a lot of like personal emphasis on it as an essay collection, which is something I find in general when it comes to these kind of like pop culture, television media, criticism, essay collections, because I think when you're discussing media, it often becomes quite personal, because media is about like personal consumption and personal reaction to said media, rather than perhaps some other topics for essay collections, I'm not sure. But yeah, so it's got a lot of like personal emphasis on behalf of the author, and we definitely don't have everything in common. Like, there has, begun a separating in what our life experiences are, but I really enjoyed that initial sort of relatability and the fact that we were generationally very similar, because like I said, I consumed this media at the same ages that she did, so I'm really enjoying that, and I'm really enjoying her own perspective on it. We don't need to be the same for me to enjoy this essay collection. We don't need to be from like the same like class background or anything like that. It's so really, really interesting, and it's also giving me a ton of like flashbacks, because she was just talking about these sort of Perez Hilton days of outing celebrities or speculating on celebrity sexualities, and I remember conversations at school about celebrities arising because of things like the Perez Hilton blog, or facts that then became accepted because he said they did, and how it fed into like the homophobia that was the particular strain at that time when like I was young and in school, and particularly when I was struggling with coming out myself and some of my own negative experiences trying to come out in high school. I think as all queer people know, coming out is never like a one-off, it's a continuous experience, and I went in and I went out and I went in and I went out of that closet, and media definitely affected my negative reception from my peers. Like, absolutely, hands down. I remember one particular experience where I came out as bisexual to one person, who then obviously told other people, and it cycled down and spread around my friends somewhat, and my so-called, or one of my so-called best friends, had an absolute fit because she'd had sleepovers with me, and she thought that was disgusting that we'd had sleepovers, and I was attracted to men and women, as it turned out. Not her though. But yeah, that was fun. That was one of those times where I laughed it off and scurried back into my closet because I couldn't deal with it. So yeah, I remember a lot of those conversations, and I think like the media and the way the media treated queer people at that time definitely influenced that, because in this essay collection she was talking a lot about the media reception and the fan reception of Lindsay Lohan, her first public relationship with a woman, and the way that was treated, and the way it was almost like characterised as part of her mental breakdown, like that association between queerness and emotional instability and mental illness was so disturbing. And I just like this collection because I remember all of that. I remember like it at the time, at that age, the same age that the author was. So yeah, I'm really enjoying the collection. And I've also started reading on my Kindle, Dating Dr. Dill. I'm only about 10% in, so I can't say much at this point. They've not even met each other, and by they I mean the romantic interest is from the perspective of our female protagonist, who has just turned 30. It's her 30th birthday, and everyone's putting pressure on her to be in a relationship, because apparently the fact that she's successful in her career isn't good enough standard, isn't it? And I just want to throttle her family. They're driving me mad, and they're meant to drive me mad. They forgot her birthday, and they're dismissing her feelings, and they're infuriating me, but like they're meant to. So that's how I'm feeling so far, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it unfolds. It's quite a humorous one, and I also hadn't realised that it's going to be part of a series where all of these romances are inspired by Shakespeare plots, which I love. I love anything that's also a retelling. I think that's really fun. But that's my update. I'm going to go now, finish eating my lunch, and I'll see you in the next one. In bed reading Dating Dr. Dill, and thought I would update you because I realised I'm halfway through. I don't know how that happened. I have just sped through this book. I feel like the last time I updated you, I was something like 10% of the way in. Small dragon pal there, say hi. And now I'm 50% of the way through, so I've just like raced through it. And I think that's the sign of a good romance novel. I think like that's what I look for in a romance novel, is pacey and quick to read and entirely absorbing and removing you from the world, because that's what they are. They're escapism, and they're fun, and they're light, and this is exactly what this is. It's just very fun, silly, easy reading. It's very silly, but like in the best ways. It's a combination of so many tropes, like fake dating and enemies to lovers in one, which I know are some favoured tropes by many. I also don't know if this is an official trope, but it's something I've noticed a lot in historical romances, where like the male lead in a like male-female romance doesn't believe in love. Like that's another one that's in there. Actually, I'm sure he's going to be convinced otherwise. And it's great fun. But the reason I thought, I have to update you now is because they are at a this isn't like a spoiler to events of the book, it's not important in terms of the storyline, but they are at a murder mystery event at the Metropolitan Art Museum. And I don't know if the Metropolitan Art Museum actually does that, but if it does, that sounds amazing. And now I really, really want them to do murder mysteries at the National Museum in Edinburgh or the British Museum in London, because I would go in a heartbeat. That sounds so cool. A murder mystery party / investigation game in a historical museum. That's so cool. And if it's not a thing, it needs to be a thing. And I want to go because that sounds amazing. So I'm going to go back and read more about the event because I'm just invested in going to it myself. The man in this book is an idiot. An absolute idiot. I mean, I'm loving the book, but an idiot. An idiot. An idiot. I've got 10% left. But an idiot. Prem might be an idiot. But his mum is a legend. Just let it be. Put some makeup on before filming this clip because my acne is incredibly excoriated because of stress. I suffer from compulsive skin picking or dermatillomania, which is a type of OCD, and stress and anxiety makes it worse, and I am very stressed and anxious about my PhD, which I basically have just over 2 months to complete, and it's a busy 2 months, and it just feels so overwhelming, but here I am. This is a reading vlog, not a stress vlog. So yeah, just for reality's sake, this is what compulsive skin picking looks like during the end of a PhD. It's really, really painful. But on the topic of reading and the books that were and the books I was reading for this vlog, I did want to update you because I finished them both. And I actually really enjoyed both of them. So I just wanted to, update you on those rather than talk about my stress for a second. I finished first Dating Dr. Dill because I found that to be just a quintessential romance read for me, in that I sped through it. It was just a whoosh, 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 and done. Because you get very attached to the romance and it's very pacey and there's lots of angst and spice and ups and downs in their relationship, and you know it's all going to work out in any romance, but you're invested in seeing how that manifests, and you also get very invested in seeing the male love interest proved wrong because so frustrating, but I loved it. It was just fabulous. It was just really, really fun romance. It's exactly what I wanted, and actually it's the exact kind of stress relief I need right now. I think as a genre, romance is perfect for me right now, in between my studies / research / writing up. So I really enjoyed that, and I'm glad that it was included in the recommendations, because I'm also going to check out the rest of the series as it carries on, because like I mentioned before, the author is writing a bunch of romance novels inspired by Shakespeare, but about Desi Americans, and I'm assuming that the future romances are probably going to be about some of the side characters in this book, which should be fun, because Prem and Krina both had some really fun friends I'd love to know more about. So yeah, I really enjoyed that. And then in terms of the essay collection, I also really enjoyed that. It was a very personal essay collection. I think that's what I've learned, generally speaking, from essay collections, is that they are very personal. They are as much about the author and their journey as they are about the content they are commenting on, if that makes sense, because I've read some essay collections that have been about literature in the past, and I found the same thing, but I really enjoyed hearing from this author. It was really nice hearing from somebody who grew up in a similar time period to me, whose experiences are not exactly the same as mine, but who was consuming the same media, and how that personally affected her journey as a queer woman. And it was really, really nice to hear from. And she reminded me about some stuff from when I was younger that I really forgotten about in terms of media. There was some other media which I didn't really consume. I wasn't like a big Disney Channel watcher. We didn't have the Disney Channel in my house growing up, so I don't like relate to that so much, but I did like listen to the same pop music and watch and read a lot of the other stuff that she mentioned, so that was a lot of fun. And I'm now following her on Twitter, and I'm going to keep abreast of the stuff that she puts out there, because she has a really fun voice and it's really nice to hear from. She's funny and personable, and I liked hearing her deep dive into the way that media, queer or not queer, had affected her as a queer woman. Plus, it was nice to be introduced to two authors that I hadn't read before and hadn't heard of their books before. So I'm really grateful to my TBR for providing that, and my bibliologist Emily. Thank you, Emily. So yeah, I'm also really looking forward to reading Plain Bad Heroines, probably to no surprise, since I enjoyed Emily's recommendations on the other two genres. But right now I'm focused on my PhD, so I'm probably going to borrow that from a friend who I know owns a copy in the coming months, and I will update you when I do read it. But overall, I was really happy with the recommendations I received from Emily and my TBR, and I really enjoyed the ones that I have read, so that was fantastic. It was such a fun experience, despite the ups and downs of my mental health during this vlog and this past 2 weeks. I have really enjoyed what I've been reading, and that does make a difference, so that was great. And I will of course have my TBR linked in the description box down below for you to check out yourself, whether you just want to try the basic package like I did, or if you're based in the US and want to try the service where you also receive the books, which I think is a ton of fun. So yeah, you'll find that link down there. I'm also super grateful to my TBR for having sponsored this video and supported my channel. It is incredible, helpful and awesome, and they introduced me to a service and some books that I really enjoyed. So yeah, it was a success all round. But otherwise, I'm now going to go and try and make some more headway in writing up this PhD thesis that I regret doing every single day. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this reading vlog, and I will see you all again in the next one. Bye everyone.